A very warm good morning to everyone. Today I'm here to take this seminar on the topic Development of Research Plan and Case Control Studies and Cohort Studies. So, development of research plan. Why is it important to develop a research plan? This research plan helps researchers to gain a broad understanding of work previously conducted on a topic, and also it enables them to position their own research to build on knowledge. And one more thing, it allows them to sharpen the focus on their research question and avoid duplicating previous research. So, before conducting any research, a researcher should develop a research plan. The plan should include the overall purpose of the research and how the outputs will be used and communicated. So, before discussing the steps of how to develop a research plan, we must know that what is a research plan. So, a research plan is a short document which sets out initial thoughts on a research project in a logical and concise manner, or a concept paper which may be shared in confidence with peers and potential collaborators. Is not a formal research proposal, although it may be a foundation document from which detailed research proposal is developed. Having a coherent research plan may help to make the process of writing a research proposal in easier and quicker. So these are the steps of research plan. To how to develop a research plan, these are the steps. So the first one is exploration and the second one is description, followed by diagnosis, experimentation, determining experimental and sample designs, data collection technique. So the first step of developing a research plan is exploration. So exploratory research. What is an exploratory research? It's an initial research. We can say that it's a primary study of a new knowledge from which the researcher has little or no idea at all. For example, we can say that it's similar to doctor's initial investigation of a patient, or FRI prepared by a police. That is FRI, the first information that is prepared by the police. It's exactly like the exploratory research. So exploratory research is an initial research conducted to clarify and define the nature of a problem. Here the initial research is conducted just for defining and clarifying the nature of the problem. So the exploratory research is ill structured. We can say that it's ill structured. Why it is called ill structured? It means that the objectives are not clear enough and many informations are missing. That's why it's called ill structured. And it does not provide a conclusive evidence. The subsequent research are expected here. So let me read out the points in detail. The initial research are conducted to clarify and define the nature of the problem. Doesn't provide any conclusive evidence. So exploratory research is defined as an initial research into a theoretical and hypothetical idea. This is where a researcher has an idea or has observed something and seek to understand more about. It helps to determine the best research design and selection of subject. Exploratory research often relies on techniques such as secondary research, information qualitative approach, formal qualitative research. Exploratory research take when problems are in a primary step. Exploratory research is used when topics or issues is new, when data is difficult to collect. It's flexible and can address research questions of all type: what, why, and how. Look at how ER is used in business. For instance, let's say you own a bakery called the Cupcake King. If you want to improve your sale but weren't sure where to start, you might employ ER to find out the area of your business that need improvement. It's important to note that the point of exploratory research is not to gain a definite answer. So here we discuss the objectives of exploratory research. That is how to generate a new idea. to make the exact formulation of the problem, or to increase the researcher's familiarity with the problem, or to clarify the concept, or to determine the feasibility of the study, etc. etc. So that is the first step of developing a research plan, that is exploratory research or exploration. So we are moving to the second step, that is description. The term descriptive research refers to the type of research question, design, and data analysis that will be applied to the given topic. The type of question asked by the researcher will ultimately determine the type of approach necessary to complete an accurate assessment of topic at hand. Descriptive study primarily concerned with finding out what is might be applied to investigate the topic. It can be qualitative and quantitative. It can involve collections of qualitative information that can be tabulated along a continuum in numeral forms such as score on a test or a number of persons choose to use a certain feature of multimedia program, or it can describe categories of information such as gender or pattern of interaction when using technology in a group situation. Descriptive research involves gathering data, describe the events, and then organize, tabulate, depicts, and describe data collection. It often uses visual aids like graph and chart to aid to readers in understanding data distribution. It is very important in reducing the data to manageable forms when in-depth narrative description of small number of cases are involved. The research use description as tool to organize data into pattern that emerge during analysis. This pattern aids the mind in comprehending a qualitative study. Descriptive research reports summary data such as measure of central tendency like mean, median, mode, variation, deviation, percentage of correlation between variable. Effective to analyze non-quantified issue and topic. So here description or descriptive research. It refers to the research that provide an accurate portrayal of characteristic of a particular individual, situation or group. Or it's an information or complete details about a particular individual, situation or group. So the descriptive research is also known as statistical research. It describes the characteristic of an existing phenomena. The studies are the mean of discovering new meaning, distributing what exists, determining the frequency of with which something occurs, or like categorizing information. So for example, I can say that a current employment rate or census of any country, etc. So we are moving to the third step, that is diagnosis. Diagnosis, from the name itself we can understand that it means to find out. Actually it is similar to descriptive research, but some differences are there. In diagnostic research, what is happening is to be described. Why it is happening or what can be done about it. These are the three focuses in diagnostic research. I repeat, that is what is happening, why it is happening, and what can be done about it. So a diagnosis is the discovering the cause of problem and solution. Discovering the cause of problem and solution. So, diagnostic research study determine the frequency with which something occur in association with something else. The study concerning whether certain variables are associated are the examples of diagnostic research. The design in such study should be rigid and not flexible. Researcher want to know the root cause of problem. He described the factors responsible for the problematic situation. Diagnostic research follow case study method or in-depth approach to reach the basic causal relation. It's a problem-solving research which mainly consists of emergence of problem, diagnosis of problem, solution of problem, suggestion for the problem. It goes deeply into course of things or events that interest us using very small sample and very deep probing data gathering devices. It's a study analyzing whether certain variable is associated with other variable. It is rarely based upon single variable and therefore it is a multi-variable should be planned carefully. So we are moving to the next step, that is experimentation. So what is experimentation? Experimentation is a research process used to study the causal relationship between variables. That is, actually it aims at studying the effect of an independent variable on a dependent variable. For example, I can call that a laboratory experiment and field experiments, etc. So, experimentation, it is also known as true experiment. Experimental method is a systematic and scientific approach to research in which the researcher manipulate one or more variable and control and measure the change in other variable. This is an experiment where the researcher manipulate one variable and control or randomize the rest of the variable. It as a control group, the subject has a randomly assessed between the group and the researcher only tests one effect at a time. An experiment is typically carried out by manipulating a variable called an independent variable affecting the experimental group. Research only want to measure the effect of the independent variable when conducting an experiment, allowing them to conclude that this was the reason for this effect. So we are moving to the next step, that is determining experimental and sample design. A true experimental design should consist of the following characteristic. That is, the first one is manipulation, and second is control, and third is randomization. So what is manipulation? A manipulation refers to the conscious control of the independent variable by the researcher through treatment or intervention to observe the effect on the dependent variable. And the second one is control. Control is an essential element of an experimental design. It uses a control group and controlling the effect of extraneous variable on the dependent variable in which the researcher is interested. And the third one is randomization. It means that every subject has an equal chance of being assessed to the experimental or study of an object on a random basis. A sample design is a definite plan determined before any data are actually collected for obtaining sample from a given universe. It refers to the technique that researcher would use in adopt the selecting some sampling unit from the universe for drawing inference about the universe. Proper procedure of selecting the sample will give all the dependable information about the universe. There are different methods for selecting such random sampling, stratified sampling, systematic sampling, etc. Some of the good samples are the following features, like true experimentation of the universe, no biases in selecting the sample, quality of the sample should be same, sampling need to be adequate, regulating conditions should be same for all individual. And the last step of developing a research plan is data collection techniques. So, a data forms the fundamental basis of any study. So, collection of data is very important. There are two types of data, that is primary data and secondary data. So, here these are the data collection techniques, which include observation method, direct personal interview method, telephone interview method, questionnaire method, and schedule method. So the first one is observation method. So observation means the researcher in data collection, the researcher will observe the subject for a particular thing. The observation can be structural observation, unstructured observation, a participant observation, and non-participant observation. So the second one is direct personal interview method. That is interview. Interview means a communication process between two persons. One person will ask the question and the other will answer. The one who asks the question is called interviewer, and the one who answer is called interviewee. That we already know that. So there are two type of interview, that is structured interview and unstructured interview. So the structured interview means you have a pre-planned questions or predetermined question. It will be the you will be asked that questions only. In the unstructured interview, meaning that it is just opposite to that of structural interviews. That is, you change the questions according to the intelligence level of the interviewee. The third one is telephone interview method. So the telephone interview is a data collection method when the interviewer communicates with the respondent on the telephone in accordance with the prepared questionnaire. Fourth one is questionnaire method. It's a series of questions will be there, and it will be prepared by the researcher, and the researcher will ask the subject to complete it. The researcher will ask the subject to complete the question, and there are two type of this questionnaire method is of two type, that is open format question and closed format question. And the last one is schedule method. It is the tool or instrument used to collect data from the respondent while the interview is conducted. So the next topic is case study and cohort study. So a cohort study or a panel study is a quasi-experiment in the form of the longitudinal study. Generally a type of observational study used in medicine, nursing, psychology, social science, ecology, etc. So a cohort study, there is a passive follow-up of a group of people and document of relevant characteristic or even related to this group of people. For instance, in medicine, it is an analysis of risk factors and follows a group of people who do not have the disease and use correlation to determine the absolute risk of subject contraction. So coming to the case control study, the most common and most frequently used analytical study, that is the case control study. It is to design in epidemiology study. So when we use the word case control, is automatically means that this study has got two group of people or study subjects. One is the case and the other is the control. Now the word case in epidemiology means a person suffering from a given health condition or disease. So we use the same term, we design a case control. So when we begin our case control study, we need to look at who are going to be our case and who are going through our control. So the point to remember in case control study is, when we start our study, the individual who are diseased as our cases and individual who are not diseased is our control. So this is the differentiating point between a cohort study and a case control study. So let's discuss them in detail. A cohort study. The starting point of a cohort study is the recording of healthy subjects with and without exposure of the putative agent or the characteristic being studied. Individuals exposed to the agent under studies are followed over time and their health status is observed and recorded during the course of study. So these are the advantages of cohort study. That is, it allows complete information on the subject exposure, including quality control of data and experience thereafter. It provides a clear temporal sequence of exposure and disease. Give an opportunity to study multiple outcomes related to a specific exposure. Permit calculation of incidence rates as well as relative risk. Methodology and results are easily understood by non-epidemiologists. Enable the study of relatively rare exposure. These are the disadvantages of cohort study. Not suited for the study of rare disease because a large number of subjects is required. Not suited when the time between exposure and disease manifestation is very long, although this can be overcome in historical cohort study. Exposure pattern, for example, the composition or oral contraceptives may change during the course of the study and make the result irrelevant. Maintaining high rate of follow-up can be difficult, expensive to carry it out because a large number of subjects is usually required. So, case control study. The starting point of a case control study is subject with the disease or condition under study. The case's history of exposure or the other characteristic or both prior to onset of the disease is recorded through interview and sometimes by means of records and other sources. A comparison group consists of individuals without disease under study are assembled and their past history is recorded in the same way as for the cases. So here are the advantages and disadvantages of cohort study. So the advantages, they permit the study of rare diseases, permit the study of diseases with a long latency between exposure and manifestation, can be launched and conducted over relatively short time periods, relatively inexpensive as compared to cohort study, can study multiple potential causes of diseases. So these are the disadvantages of case control study. Information on exposure and past history in primarily based on interview and may be subject to recall biases. Validation of information on exposure is difficult or incomplete or even impossible, by definition concerned with one disease only. Cannot usually provide information on incidence rates of disease, generally incomplete control of extraneous variables. Choice of appropriate control group may be difficult. Methodology may be hard to comprehend for non-epidemiologists and control interpretation of result may be difficult. So here comes the end of my seminar. Thank you.